You're in a lecture hall at 9:17 a.m., half awake, half broke, and someone just told you the most dangerous sentence in modern education: just focus on your studies. The money will come later. Later is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Because right now, while you're memorizing theories you might never use, there are students, same age, same classes, quietly building income streams that don't wait until graduation. They're not smarter. They just understand something most people ignore. Money doesn't care about your schedule. And side hustles? They're not just about extra cash. They're about learning how money actually moves. Outside classrooms, outside exams, in the real world where no one gives you a syllabus. So let's talk about it. Not the Instagram version. Not the make $10,000 in a week fantasy. The real system behind student side hustles. How they work. Why some succeed. Why most quietly fail. And what the math actually looks like. Because right now, this matters more than ever. Tuition is rising. Living costs are rising faster. Entry-level jobs are shrinking or demanding experience you don't have yet. And at the same time, the internet has made earning money easier and more competitive. It's a strange moment. Opportunity everywhere. Attention nowhere. So the question isn't should you have a side hustle, it's which game are you actually playing? Let's break it down. Most student side hustles fall into three categories: time for money, skill for money, and leverage for money. At first glance, they all look the same. You do something, you get paid. But underneath, they operate on completely different rules. Start with the simplest. Time for money. This is where most students begin. Delivery driving, tutoring, freelance gigs, part-time online work. You trade hours for income. It's predictable. It's immediate. And it feels productive. Work 3 hours. Earn $30. Clear equation. But here's the quiet problem. There are only 24 hours in a day. And your schedule is already full. Classes, assignments, sleep, maybe. So your income has a ceiling, a hard one. You can push it, stretch it, sacrifice sleep, but eventually you hit a wall. And the irony? The more you need money, the less time you have to earn it. That's the trap. Now, time for money isn't useless. It teaches discipline. It builds urgency. It shows you the reality of effort versus reward. But it doesn't scale. And scaling is where things get interesting. So students move to the second category, skill for money. This is where you stop selling hours and start selling outcomes. Design a logo instead of working shifts. Edit videos instead of delivering food. Write content. Build websites. Manage social media. Now you're not just working, you're solving problems. And suddenly, your earning potential isn't tied directly to time. It's tied to how valuable your skill is. A beginner designer might earn $10 per project. A good one? 100. An excellent one? 1,000. Same hours. Different outcomes. This is where things start to feel unfair, in a good way. But there's a catch. Skills take time to build, and in the beginning, you'll probably earn less than you did trading time for money. That's the uncomfortable phase no one talks about. You're slower, you're unsure. Clients hesitate. Payments are inconsistent. It feels like a step backward, but it's not. It's an investment, one most people quit halfway through. Because the payoff isn't immediate, and patience is expensive when you're broke. Still, this is where many students level up. They gain independence. They learn negotiation. They understand value. And then, a small percentage go one step further. Leverage. This is where the rules change completely. Leverage means you create something once, and it keeps working for you. A YouTube channel, a digital product, a small online business, an app, even a niche page that earns through ads or partnerships. Now, instead of trading time or skills directly, you're building systems. And systems don't sleep. A video you made last month can still earn money today. A template you designed once can sell 100 times. A simple website can generate income while you're in class. Sounds perfect. It's not. Because leverage has the highest failure rate. For every student earning passive income, there are hundreds posting videos no one watches, launching products no one buys, building stores no one visits. Why? Because leverage depends on attention. And attention is brutally competitive. You're not just competing with other students, you're competing with professionals, companies, algorithms, and years of content already online. And attention is finite. So the real game isn't build something, it's build something people care about. And that's harder than it sounds. Now let's talk about the uncomfortable math. Let's say you choose a time for money hustle. You earn $8 an hour. You work 15 hours a week. That's $120 a week. Around $480 a month. It helps. But it doesn't change your life. Now imagine you spend those same 15 hours learning a skill for 3 months. No income, just practice. At the end of those 3 months, you start charging $50 per project. You complete 10 projects a month. That's $500. Same effort, slightly delayed reward. But here's where it compounds. Improve your skill. Raise your price to $100. Now it's $1,000. Same hours, different game. And if you take that skill and build leverage, say you create a course, a template, or content around it, you unlock something else entirely. Non-linear income. You might earn nothing for weeks. Then suddenly, $300 in a day. Then nothing again. Then $1,000 from a single opportunity. It's unpredictable, which is why most people don't trust it. Humans prefer steady over scalable, even if scalable is better long-term. Now let's address the hype. Social media loves to sell the idea that side hustles are easy, quick, almost automatic. Make money while you sleep. Technically true, but incomplete. Because what they don't show is the months of unpaid work, the failed attempts, the projects that go nowhere, the hours spent learning something that doesn't pay off immediately. Side hustles aren't shortcuts, they're experiments, and most experiments fail. But each one teaches you something traditional education often doesn't. How markets respond, how people make decisions, what actually creates value. And that knowledge, it compounds in ways grades don't. Now zoom out for a second. This isn't just about students making extra money. It's about a shift in how income works. A degree used to be the primary path. Now it's one of many. Employers are starting to value proof over potential. What you've built matters as much as what you've studied. And side hustles? They're proof. Proof you can create, solve, adapt. But there's a risk here too. Burnout. Trying to study full-time, work part-time, and build something on the side isn't just ambitious, it's exhausting. And there's a fine line between productive and overwhelmed. So the real strategy isn't do everything, it's choose intentionally. Pick one path, time, skill, or leverage. Understand its rules, play it well. Stacking 3 unfinished hustles doesn't make you productive, it just makes you tired. And tired people make bad decisions. So where does that leave you? In a strange position. You're told to prepare for the future, while the future keeps changing. You're told to focus, while opportunities keep multiplying. And somewhere in between, you're expected to figure out how money actually works. Maybe that's the real value of side hustles, not the income, but the perspective. Because once you see how money flows, how value is created, priced, and scaled, you can't unsee it. And that changes how you approach everything. Your career, your time, your choices. So here's the uncomfortable question. If students today have more ways than ever to earn, build, and experiment, why do most still wait? Because if you look closely, waiting is the default setting. The system is designed that way. You follow the path, attend the lectures, pass the exams, graduate. Then, only then, you're allowed to think about earning seriously. Side hustles disrupt that timeline. They force you to operate in two worlds at once. One structured, one chaotic, one predictable, one brutally uncertain. And most people choose predictable, not because it's better, but because it's safer, or at least, it feels safer. But safety has a cost. If you delay learning how money works until after graduation, you're starting from zero in a game where others already have momentum. They've tested ideas, failed publicly, adjusted quietly, built skills that don't show up on transcripts but show up in bank accounts. So when the same job market opens its doors, you're both applying, but you're not playing the same game. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Side hustles don't just teach you how to make money. They expose how fragile most income actually is. Because once you've earned money outside a fixed salary, you start to notice something uncomfortable. A single source of income is a risk, not stability. If your only income disappears, everything stops. But if you've built even a small second stream, even inconsistent, even imperfect, you've already reduced that risk. You've created optionality. And optionality is power, not loud power, quiet power. The ability to say no, the ability to pivot, the ability to think long-term instead of reacting short-term. That's what side hustles really offer. Not freedom, not instantly, but leverage over your own decisions. And yet, there's still a catch, because once you step into this world, there's no clean endpoint, no clear signal that says you've made it. There's always another level, another skill to learn, another system to build, another opportunity you're not ready for, yet. Which means the real challenge isn't starting. It's deciding when something is working, and when it's not. Because persistence is praised. But blind persistence? That's just wasted time with good branding. So you have to become something most students aren't trained to be. A decision maker under uncertainty, testing ideas, measuring outcomes, cutting losses, not emotionally, rationally. And that's uncomfortable, because it means admitting when something isn't working. Quitting a hustle you spent months on, starting again from zero, watching others succeed in areas you failed. There's no grade for that, no feedback form, no reassurance, just results, or the absence of them. Which brings us back to the beginning, that sentence. Just focus on your studies. The money will come later. Maybe it will. But maybe later is just a delay in learning something inevitable, because at some point, degree or not, you'll have to understand how to create value in a market that doesn't owe you attention, opportunity, or income. Side hustles don't solve that. They just introduce you to it earlier. And earlier might be the only real advantage you have. So the question isn't whether side hustles are worth it. It's whether you're willing to face the uncertainty they bring, while everyone else is still waiting for certainty that may never come. Because if money doesn't wait, why do you? And here's the part no one likes to admit. Even after you understand all of this, most people still don't act. Not because they're lazy. Because starting creates a new kind of pressure. The moment you begin a side hustle, you remove the excuse of "I don't know how." Now it becomes "I tried, and it didn't work." That shift is subtle, but heavy. Because failure in theory is abstract. Failure in practice is personal. Your first video gets 12 views. Your first gig gets ignored. Your first product doesn't sell. Nothing dramatic happens. No one laughs. No one notices. And somehow, that's worse. Because silence is harder to process than rejection. So people retreat. Back to the system that guarantees feedback. Grades. Structure. Progress that feels visible. But here's the irony. In the real world, silence is feedback. It means the market didn't care. Not about you, about the offer. And that distinction is everything. Because once you separate your identity from your output, you can improve without taking it personally. You can adjust the idea, change the angle, test again. That's how side hustles actually grow. Not through inspiration, through iteration, quiet, repetitive, often boring iteration. And this is where another hidden advantage appears. Students have something most full-time workers don't. Low downside. You don't have a mortgage. You don't have a family depending on your income. Your financial baseline is lower, which means your ability to take small risks is higher. You can afford to try things that might not work. But that window doesn't stay open forever. Responsibilities increase. Time shrinks. Risk tolerance drops. So the same experiments that feel optional now become expensive later. And suddenly, the idea of "I'll start after graduation" becomes harder than it sounded. Because after graduation, you're not just starting, you're catching up. Now zoom out one last time. There are millions of students right now, all connected to the same internet, the same tools, the same opportunities. Yet outcomes will look completely different. Some will leave with only a degree. Others will leave with skills, income streams, and proof of work that compounds. The difference won't be intelligence. It will be exposure. Who stepped outside the system early enough to understand how it actually works, and who didn't. So when you think about side hustles, don't think of them as jobs. Think of them as lenses. Each one shows you a different part of the economy. Time for money shows you limits. Skill for money shows you leverage. And systems show you scale. Most people only ever experience the first. A few reach the second. Very few build the third, not because it's impossible, because it's uncomfortable, uncertain, slow, often invisible. But so is every meaningful advantage at the beginning. So now we're back to a simple, slightly uncomfortable place. You already know the categories. You understand the trade-offs. You've seen the math. There's no missing information. Just a decision. Do you stay inside a system that delays real-world feedback, or step into one that gives it to you immediately, whether you're ready or not? Because the longer you wait to understand how money actually works, the more expensive that lesson becomes. And the system you trust the most might be the one that teaches it last. So again, if the opportunity is already here, if the tools are already in your hands, if the risk is lower now than it will ever be, then what exactly are you waiting for?